Hi everyone, today we are looking at the game between Donchenko and Blubaum. Both are from Germany. This game was played on the tournament FIDE World Cup to 2025. Okay, let's start checking this game. Okay, c4, e6, knight c3, d5, d4, bishop e7, declined queen's gambit, c take on d5, e take on d5, bishop f4, interesting move, put the bishop to active square, knight f6, e3, castle, and h3. Very interesting move because the idea was to play knight h5 and just trade the knight for the bishop. So we didn't want to do this trade, so we just put the pawn there to give one more square for the bishop. So very nice move. c5. Black just want to immediately attack the center. Okay, knight f3, queen, knight c6, bishop b5. Okay, somewhere our bishop goes there to maybe even to take on c6 because the pawn structure will be distracted and it will be interesting for us. So are we forced to do that? No, because if something will be changed, so we can change our plan. Okay, c take on d4, knight take on d4, queen b6. Of course, he wants to activate the queen and attack here, and protect one more time his knight on c6. Short castle, knight take on d4, queen take on d4, queen take on d4, and e take on d4. So here we have very symmetrical pawn structure, yeah. But it doesn't mean that position is equal, yeah. Better positions of our bishops give us a little bit better position, so we can continue and try to increase it. Okay, bishop e6, bishop d3. Somewhere our opponent wanted to play a6, b5 and push his pawns there. So, of course, we see this idea and we just want to save our bishop and put it on the safe place. So, okay, a6, knight a4. Very important move too, because now we can see that on the square on b6 is unprotected, so we can just try to capture that. And one more idea to put our knight on c5, because on c5 now our knight will attack the bishop and the pawn on b7. So interesting possibility, because now our queen on c3 is not active enough because too many protections on d5 square and we can't improve this tension on d5. So knight a4, knight to d7. He want to protect everything, but okay, his knight on d7 stays not in a good position. So okay, we can continue our development. b4. Okay, b4, very important move. Why? Because if we play something like rook c1, rook c8, okay, we don't have possibility to capture the file here, so we can just trade everything. But these trades doesn't help us to improve the position, because now as less pieces we have in the position, as this position looks like a draw. So that's why this plain move doesn't help us. So b4 looks very interesting for us. Why? Because after b4, yeah, we put the pawn on unprotected square, so the bishop can take it. But very important move here, bishop rook f to b1. Why? Because if we play rook a to b1, that looks maybe a little bit more natural, but it's worse because after a5 we must play a3 to open the file and give possibility for the rook to take on b7. But after a3, pawn is unprotected. So that's why we play rook f to b1, and after a5, a3, his bishop is forced to go back to e7, and after take on b7 with the rook, we can see that rook is very active. Now we can see that bishop protect b8 square, and this rook impossible to trade. So that's why initiative on the white side. So very, very bad for black. Let's come back. Of course, Blubaum is very strong player. He understood this problems in the position and he didn't take the pawn on b4, bishop f6. Is attacking the pawn on d4. That is a weakness, of course. Bishop e3, the only move how we can protect it. Knight b8. Okay, it looks very, very, very strange, but it's a really good idea. Because if we play something like rook a to c8, the idea was to play somewhere knight c5, Now knight attack everything, so bear this tension is impossible, so we need to take it. And after b take on c5, rook to b1, rook to b3, and doubling the rooks on b file. Of course, position will be much more better for white because this pawn make pawn on b7 backward, so that's why we have advantage in this position. Okay, so let's come back. Knight b8, the idea is to activate the knight, to play on c6 and somewhere attack these two unprotected pawns. So interesting possibility, but of course exists some problems with this move because knight b6 and we are forced to play rook a7 and our rook stays on the very terrible position. But it's for a while. Later we will have possibility to improve it. So f4. Donchenko play very good in this game because after f4 we just want to open second flank and push pawn to f5 and so on. Very good idea because if we take more space on the board we will have more possibilities for maneuvering somewhere. So interesting possibility. Bishop d8, very important move because can't bear this knight on b6, so we force him to go back. Knight go to a4, knight c6, of course. A3, we protected b4 pawn. f5, and it's a huge mistake because after f5, black didn't understand that position in general very open. The difference in positions of pieces is really huge here. So f5 was too fast. Yeah, maybe the best idea was just to wait and play something like bishop d7. But of course, really hard to criticize. Blubaum played this position with black pieces because the position was really annoying, really passive, and in general position for two results. Yeah, white will win or black will manage to save the game and make a draw. So the position was really annoying, and he tried to stop all this attack with f5 move. But Donchenko made a really good plan here, rook to c1. Okay, just plain move to improve the rook, bishop to f6, somewhere we want to take a pawn on d4, and very nice move, rook to e1. Why? Because after rook to e1, we can see here that black can't take the pawn on d4. Let's check, because exist two possibilities with the bishop and with the knight, but if we take with the bishop, we have possibility to take on c6, and if take on c6, bishop d4, after that double attack, we are forced to play rook e7, then bishop c5. Of course, this will be the end of the game. So it was impossible. And if we play bishop take on e3, it looks better, but only for a second. But after rook e3, when we see that bishop on e6 was unprotected and white can take it, we can understand that position is absolutely lost. So let's come back. In this position exists one more move, knight take on d4. It looks better on the first glance, because after take we can take the bishop because check. So white has a little bit more interesting possibility here, knight to b6. Why is this move? Because again, we don't give possibility for the rook to be active in the position. Second idea is that somewhere we attack the pawn on d5. And if black plays something like knight c6, very important silent move, bishop f2. Yeah, we just don't take something and so on. We just increase tension in the position, because now we attack the bishop. Very annoying move. If we play king to f7, okay, we will check it a little bit later. But if we play something like knight to bishop to f7, we can just see this move, and even hard. No, okay, but here is even worse position, because now we have these two attacks. So okay, the king f7 looks better, but it's a bad too, because after knight d7, some calculations here, and of course white will win here, because after bishop d7, bishop take on a7, knight take on a7, rook to c7. Now we attack everything on the 7th rank. So and very important that the king can't help the bishop here. So because the rook cut everything here. So the only move rook to d8, and after bishop take on f5, of course, bishop on d7 will be lost and position winning for white. So here, of course, was impossible to take on d4. In the game, black played rook to a8, knight to c5. Now we have changed our plan, and so we want to take something here. Of course, bishop c8, the only move in the position to protect everything, and bishop b1. Again, one more very good move in strategy, because after bishop a2, position will be really, really bad for black. Let's check. Knight d4, it's a final mistake. Really hard to criticize again black, because it's too hard to find even one normal move in the position, not even a whole plan. So black tried to do something aggressive and maybe somewhere to save the game, but Donchenko calculated everything better, and position is completely lost. Knight take on d4, bishop a2. Now we want to take the weakness on d5. Rook to d8 to protect the black want to protect the pawn on d5, but bishop f2. One more interesting move, because the idea was to play rook c to d1 and increase tensions here, but exists the problem that after knight c2, if we take, he can take, we can take, and the king go to. Okay, I think that both moves has some advantages. So if we play here, if the rook goes here, we can take, and bishop go to d4, pin the rook, and black can even win this game. So that's why it was a problem in the position. So we played bishop to f2, and now the idea is to rook to c to d1 and continue this attack on this pawn. So let's continue. King go to f8. Now somewhere we just put the king out of this check, because of course it's annoying, but if it will be check, it will be even more annoying. So knight go to a4 again. Okay, this knight was on b6, came back, went to c5 again, came back, and now want to go to b6 again. Very nice maneuvering in the position. b5, knight to b6, rook b8, and knight take on d5. Of course, understand that all our pieces are better and position is open now, so we can understand that it's everything bad for black. Okay, rook to d6, but in general, of course, position is bad. After knight take on f6, we are forced to take with the pawn, because we can't take with the rook, because our knight will be unprotected. So g take on f6, king go to f1, bishop go to b7, rook c7. Very important move, yeah. And now everything will be under attack, because the bishop helps our rook go to f7 too. So very, very annoying position. Bishop to e4 to close the e file, so somewhere our king can go there. But rook take on h7, rook d8, rook d1. Somewhere we just want to trade two pairs of rooks, and it will be just winning for us. So knight e6, and yeah, we exchanged everything, and now we have just very easy position where we have one extra pawn and advantage of two bishops. So after a few moves, Blubaum resigned. Let's check. Bishop c5 here, h4. Of course, this pawn on h file is very important, because it's a pass pawn. So after a few moves, this pawn will finish the game. Let's go here, bishop f7, here, bishop g6, and black resign, because this pawn will be unstoppable, yeah. So, very nice game. Donchenko just distracted his opponent, and yeah, position was equal, but he understood everything in the position and made a few right plans, and just eliminated Blubaum from this tournament. Okay, not in this game, but in the next game, in this match, Donchenko made a draw with Blubaum, and he eliminated Blubaum from the tournament. Okay, thank you, and see you on the next video. Goodbye, goodbye.